They performed an autopsy on my husband. His death was covered up. It's not the truth.
Chuck Norris never lost a single fight in his entire life until March 19th, 2026. The ultimate action legend, the man who became a symbol of unbreakable strength for generations, the star of Walker, Texas Ranger, died suddenly at the age of 86 in Kauai, Hawaii. His family only released a short statement saying he passed peacefully, surrounded by loved ones, and they asked everyone to respect their privacy. For 2 full weeks, there was complete silence. Then, something changed. In a deeply emotional phone call with a longtime friend in the entertainment industry, Chuck's wife, Gena O'Kelley, finally broke down and revealed the shocking missing details from her husband's autopsy report. What she confessed in that private conversation has now leaked out and left Hollywood, his fans, and the entire world absolutely stunned. But here's the real question everyone is asking. What exactly were those missing details in the autopsy report? And do they reveal the true cause of Chuck Norris's death? Details so raw and unexpected that they will forever change how we remember the legend. This story has never truly ended. Chapter 2, The Truth and Immortal Life. Now imagine a young boy growing up in the dusty plains of Ryan, Oklahoma in 1940. That boy was Carlos Ray Norris. Born into a modest family, he faced hardship early, but something inside him was already unbreakable. Fast forward to his time in the United States Air Force, stationed in South Korea. There, under the harsh training grounds, Chuck discovered martial arts. Picture him sweating under the Korean sun, practicing kicks and punches for hours every day until his hands bled. He earned his black belt in Tang Soo Do and returned to America as a force to be reckoned with. By the late 1960s, Chuck Norris had become a karate champion, winning the world title 6 years in a row. You can almost see the crowds roaring as he delivered those legendary roundhouse kicks that left opponents stunned on the mat. Then came Hollywood. In 1972, the camera captured one of the most iconic fight scenes ever filmed. There he was, facing Bruce Lee in the Coliseum in Return of the Dragon. The tension in the air was electric. 2 legends trading blows in a brutal, bare-knuckle battle that still gives fans chills today. From that moment, Chuck's star exploded. The 1980s belonged to him. Visualize the intense jungle scenes in Missing in Action, where Chuck, as a lone soldier, stormed enemy camps with nothing but courage in his fists, rescuing American POWs. Then came the Delta Force, with Chuck leading an elite team in high-stakes rescue missions, explosions lighting up the screen as he took down terrorists one by one. But nothing defined him more than Walker, Texas Ranger. For 8 seasons, from 1993 to 2001, millions sat in front of their TVs every Saturday night watching Cordell Walker, a tough, honorable Texas Ranger who fought crime with justice, heart, and those signature martial arts moves. You can still hear the crowd cheering as Walker delivered justice in small-town Texas. Behind the tough guy image was a devoted family man. In 1998, Chuck married Gena O'Kelley, a beautiful former model 23 years younger. Their love story was quiet but deep. In 2001, they welcomed twins Dakota and Danny Lee into the world. Chuck was also a loving father to his older children, Mike, Eric, and Dina, from his first marriage. Picture warm family dinners in Texas, Chuck teaching his kids the values of discipline, faith, and never backing down, all while laughing and sharing stories from his wild Hollywood days. Even at 86, Chuck refused to fade away. On March 10, 2026, his birthday, he posted a joyful video on Instagram. Imagine the scene: bright Hawaiian sunshine bathing the backyard, Chuck lightly sparring with a training partner, throwing crisp punches and smiling ear to ear. He looked strong, energetic, and full of life. Looking straight into the camera, he said with that signature grin, "I don't age. I level up. I'm 86 today." Nothing like some playful action on a sunny day to make you feel young. "I'm grateful for another year, good health, and the chance to keep doing what I love." Fans flooded the comments with hearts and admiration, calling it proof that Chuck Norris was truly immortal. But just 9 days later, the unimaginable happened. On March 19, 2026, while relaxing at their private home in Kauai on the island of Kauai, Hawaii, Chuck suddenly collapsed. The peaceful tropical morning turned chaotic as family members rushed to help. Paramedics raced through the lush green roads to Wilcox Medical Center in Lihue. Despite every effort by the doctors, Chuck Norris passed away that morning at the age of 86. The following day, the family shared a short, emotional message on his official Instagram. "With great sadness, we announce the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck. He went peacefully, surrounded by family and at peace. We ask for privacy during this difficult time." No cause of death was mentioned. No medical details were shared. The world was left stunned. How could the man who never lost a fight leave us so suddenly and quietly? Chuck Norris lived a life that seemed larger than life itself. From the military training fields of Korea to the bright lights of Hollywood, from championship rings to quiet family moments in Texas, he built a legacy of strength, courage, honor, and unwavering principles that inspired millions across generations. Yet that final birthday video, filled with smiles, energy, and his famous fighting spirit, now feels incredibly bittersweet. A last beautiful glimpse of the legend still leveling up, right until the very end. His story of unbreakable spirit continues to live on in the hearts of fans around the world. Chapter 3. The First Revelation. It was exactly 14 days after Chuck Norris passed away that Gena O'Kelley finally broke her silence. In a quiet, private interview, she sat with her hands folded tightly in her lap and spoke the words the world had been waiting to hear. "They hid part of my husband's autopsy report," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Chuck didn't want anyone to feel sorry for him. The official death certificate listed the cause simply as sudden cardiac arrest, natural causes. But Gena had more to tell. When the medical examiner opened Chuck's file on the afternoon of March 19, 2026, the numbers told a different story. At 86 years old, his muscle mass and bone density were still comparable to those of a healthy man in his mid to late 50s. Scars from decades of on-screen fight scenes and old military training injuries marked his body like a roadmap of a life lived at full force. Traces of supplements he had taken during his Army years in the 1960s were still detectable in his system. The doctors noted something remarkable. Even in death, Chuck Norris's body refused to look its age. Gena revealed that Chuck had known about his declining heart condition for several years. He had undergone private checkups as early as 2022, but he chose to keep every detail hidden from his family and the public. He didn't want his children or fans to see him as anything less than the unbreakable legend they had always known. That final morning began like so many others on the island of Kauai. At around 5:45 a.m., Chuck woke up early, slipped into his familiar workout clothes, and stepped onto the balcony overlooking the ocean. The sea air was cool and salty. Gena was in the kitchen making coffee when she heard him cough, a deep, heavy sound that had become more frequent in recent months. She walked over and wrapped her arms around him from behind. He turned, kissed the top of her head, and smiled. "It's just the wind off the ocean, honey. Don't worry about me." But she could feel his heartbeat racing under her palm. His shoulders were tense as he gripped the railing. Still, he refused to let her see any weakness. He walked back inside, sat down on the living room sofa with a glass of water, and tried to act normal. At 7:20 a.m., everything changed. Chuck suddenly clutched his chest. His face went pale. Sweat broke out across his forehead. Gena dropped everything and rushed to his side, kneeling beside the sofa. "Chuck, I'm calling an ambulance right now." He grabbed her hand, his grip still surprisingly strong. "Don't panic," he whispered. "I'm okay. Just tired." Even as the pain hit him, he kept his voice calm. trying to protect her from the fear. She dialed emergency services with shaking fingers while holding on to him. When the paramedics arrived at 7:45 a.m., Chuck insisted on walking to the stretcher on his own. He didn't want to be carried. By 8:15 a.m., they were at the small hospital in Kauai. The doctors were stunned by what they saw. His blood pressure had dropped sharply, his heart rhythm was chaotic, yet his muscle tone and bone strength were far beyond what anyone expected for his age. X-rays showed old fractures and scar tissue from years of performing his own stunts. Broken ribs, a once dislocated shoulder, compressed vertebrae from the brutal fight scenes in movies like Delta Force and Walker on Texas Ranger. The supplements he had used in the military had clearly left a lasting impact on his physique. Chuck lay in the emergency room bed with an oxygen mask, still holding Gena's hand. Their children, Dakota, Danilee, and the others, had been notified but were still hours away from arriving. At 9:30 a.m., he opened his eyes and looked at his wife. "Remember what I told you?" he said softly. "When the final battle comes, I'm going out like a warrior. No long suffering, no pity." Tears streamed down Gena's face as she nodded. She could see the pain in his eyes, but he still managed a faint smile. He spoke about the nights his back had ached after long days on set, about hiding the truth so his family would never worry. "I kept it quiet because I wanted you all to stay proud," he told her. "Don't let the kids see me like this." By 10:45 a.m., his heart was struggling harder. The monitors showed his body fighting with everything it had. Even the medical team whispered in amazement at how resilient his system remained. At 11:20 a.m., Chuck had one last moment of clarity. He looked at Gena, squeezed her hand, and whispered, "I love you. Tell everyone." Chuck Norris never lost. Then he closed his eyes. The machines flatlined at 11:47 a.m. on March 19, 2026. Chuck Norris was gone. The full autopsy was completed by 2 p.m. that afternoon. The official conclusion remained sudden cardiac arrest due to natural causes. But there was a sealed addendum that Gena had asked the doctors to keep private at first. It stated that Chuck had been aware of his serious heart condition since at least 2022. He had refused aggressive public treatment or hospitalization that might draw attention. He chose silence because he wanted to leave the world remembering him as the undefeated hero, not as a frail old man. 14 days later, Gena decided the time had come to speak. In the interview, she wiped away tears as she continued. "Chuck still wanted the world to remember him as the immortal legend. I kept his secret for 2 weeks because I promised him. But today, I can't let people think he was just an ordinary 86-year-old who simply passed away quietly. That wasn't Chuck. He fought every single day of his life, right up to the very last breath. His body, even at the end, proved it. He went out exactly the way he wanted, like a warrior with dignity and without asking for anyone's pity." She paused, her voice breaking slightly. "He defeated so many enemies on screen and in real life. In that final battle, he won too. He left us with the image of Chuck Norris that will never die." The revelation spread quickly once Gena spoke. It wasn't sensational drama for the sake of headlines. It was a wife honoring her husband's final wish while gently lifting the veil on the truth. Chuck Norris had known his time was limited, yet he faced it with the same quiet strength that had defined his entire legendary life. He protected his family from worry, shielded his fans from sadness, and chose to exit the stage on his own terms. As the world began to absorb this new layer of the story, one thing became clear. Even in death, Chuck Norris remained larger than life. His body may have stopped, but the legend he built, muscle, bone, heart, and unbreakable spirit, continued to inspire millions. Chapter 4: Shocking Revelations. But that's not all. Mrs. Gena revealed the most secret pages from the files. The concentration of a strange substance had accumulated dangerously high in his blood and brain, believed to be the result of decades of taking dietary supplements and painkillers while filming nonstop. Some independent medical experts suspect this is the after effect of martial arts in Hollywood. Chuck had whispered to his wife on his final night, "I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of people seeing me weak. Let them think I can still do roundhouse kicks." The most shocking part, the family agreed to edit parts of the report to avoid a major scandal, because Chuck had been involved in charity and political projects, and he didn't want his legacy to be tainted by a death unworthy of a legend. Chuck Norris, the living legend, the face of martial arts in Hollywood, had always been the epitome of strength and invincibility. But what the public didn't know was that beneath that tough exterior, Chuck was silently battling a slow and insidious enemy, his own health. For years, Chuck had been battling excruciating physical pain, a secret that few knew about. A close source who was with Chuck during his final months revealed that the famous star was plagued by an unrelenting series of health issues. But this wasn't the kind of thing that would make the headlines. No one knew about the constant headaches, the dizziness, or the times he would pass out between takes while filming. "I don't want them to see me weak," Chuck would tell his close friends. He had never let anyone see him falter, not in front of his fans, not in front of his colleagues. But the toll of his intense career, those back-to-back fight scenes, the endless stunts, the countless hours of training, had taken a heavy toll on his body. And then there were the painkillers. Lots of them. For years, Chuck had been using a cocktail of pain relievers and anti-inflammatory drugs just to keep moving. He had been filming nonstop, pushing his body beyond its limits. What started as a simple solution to ease the pain from an old knee injury escalated into a dependency. By the time he reached his late 60s, his body had grown so accustomed to the drugs that he could barely function without them. Doctors, who were later contacted anonymously, confirmed that Chuck's reliance on medication had not only damaged his liver but also caused a strange buildup of chemicals in his system. The substances were accumulating in his brain, affecting his cognitive abilities. This buildup was linked to a rare toxic compound that could only be explained by years of abuse from painkillers and supplements. But Chuck was determined to keep the facade up. He wouldn't allow himself to become another tragic Hollywood story, the whispered truth about his final days. As Chuck's health deteriorated, he became increasingly paranoid about the public's perception of him. He had lived through decades of fame, through endless media scrutiny, and had built an empire that would never be tainted by weakness. "I'm not afraid of death," Chuck said to his wife Gena in one of their late-night conversations. "But I can't let them see me like this, weak. I have worked too hard for too long to let that happen." Chuck's voice had become frail, his once vibrant eyes clouded with confusion. Despite all his fame and fortune, he was still just a man terrified of being forgotten, terrified of the idea that the public might not see him as the indestructible force he had spent his entire career portraying. A source close to the Norris family confirmed that Chuck's family was in constant meetings with top PR specialists and doctors. They were working on ways to spin the truth, to create a narrative that would protect his image at all costs. The doctors were told to keep quiet about his physical decline, and certain reports were even altered to conceal the true cause of his death. But the biggest bombshell came from an unexpected source, a leaked medical report that detailed the extent of Chuck's physical deterioration. The report described the strange chemical buildup found in Chuck's blood, which had contributed to his cognitive decline. But what was even more shocking was the revelation that Chuck had been involved in an illicit relationship with a controversial Hollywood doctor who had been supplying him with dangerous, unregulated supplements to enhance his stamina on set. As Chuck's condition worsened, the family was forced to make a decision: hide the truth and protect Chuck's legacy at all costs, or let the public see the reality of his suffering. The decision was made. The family, in collaboration with Chuck's trusted advisors, decided to cover up the true circumstances surrounding his death. A hush-hush meeting took place between Chuck's family, doctors, and a group of high-powered publicists. They agreed to release a sanitized version of the autopsy report, one that would avoid revealing the true cause of death, a combination of prescription drug overdose and the long-term effects of his body being subjected to years of grueling stunts and substances. But things got murkier. A source close to the family revealed that Chuck had actually died in the early hours of the morning after suffering a fatal stroke, a direct result of the toxic buildup in his system. However, the public was told that he had died peacefully in his sleep. Chuck wanted his fans to believe he had gone out like a warrior, the source said. He didn't want anyone to know that the real battle had been inside his body for years. The aftermath of Chuck's death shook the world. While his fans mourned the loss of the martial arts icon, rumors swirled about the truth behind his decline. Some claimed that his wife, Gena, had known about Chuck's addiction to painkillers, but had kept it quiet to protect his public image. Others whispered about the shady Hollywood doctor who had been supplying Chuck with dangerous substances in exchange for the promise of exclusive access to the star. But perhaps the most shocking of all was the realization that Chuck, the indomitable force of nature, had been trapped in his own legacy. His desire to be remembered as an invincible hero had led him down a dark path, one that ultimately cost him his life. In the years following his death, the rumors only grew. Investigators who dug deeper into his medical records found that Chuck had been battling severe health problems for years. They also uncovered that some of his most iconic fight scenes had been filmed while he was under the influence of painkillers, with a team of doctors on standby to ensure he could continue performing. The ultimate question remained, was Chuck Norris truly the living legend we thought he was? Or had he been hiding a darker side of his life from the public for decades? Chapter 5. The Unexplainable Phenomena. After the autopsy, files were closed. After the autopsy files were officially closed, the world believed they had said their final goodbye to Chuck Norris, the legend. But for those closest to him, the story was far from over. Over the next few months, strange, unexplainable events began to occur. Events that would haunt those left behind. Gena was the first to speak out, and what she shared would shock everyone, challenging everything we thought we knew about Chuck Norris and the legacy he left behind. It begins a string of strange events. The autopsy report was sealed, and the press had moved on. Chuck Norris had been laid to rest in a private ceremony, far from the public eye. The world continued to mourn, but for Gena, something felt wrong. It started with the phone calls. It was early October 2025, just a week after the funeral. Gena was sitting alone in the living room of their secluded ranch in Texas. The house, once filled with the warmth and energy of Chuck's presence, now felt cold and empty. As she picked up her phone to check messages, the screen flashed to life with an incoming call. The caller ID showed Chuck's private line. Gena stared at the screen in disbelief. She had buried that phone months ago, along with Chuck's other personal belongings. But here it was, ringing again. Confused and unsettled, she answered. The voice on the other end was unmistakable, deep, gravelly, and familiar. Gena, it's me. Don't be scared. I'm okay. Everything's okay. She froze. It wasn't possible. Chuck had died. His body was buried. Yet here he was, or at least it sounded like him. She hung up, convinced it was a glitch, some technical malfunction. But the calls kept coming. Over the next 2 weeks, Gena received over a dozen calls from Chuck's phone, each one leaving her more paranoid and frightened. Every time she picked up, the same voice would say, "It's me. I'm still here." The police were called, but they found no signs of foul play. No one could explain how Chuck's phone was still active or why it was calling Gena repeatedly. The phone service provider swore they had deactivated the line long ago, yet the calls kept coming. Then, it wasn't just the phone calls. A few weeks after the last call, Gena began noticing strange occurrences around the house. Small things at first, things she could easily dismiss. One morning in late November, she woke up to find a piece of paper on the kitchen table. The paper was blank, save for a strange symbol scrawled in black ink. It resembled a martial arts insignia, something Chuck had never used publicly. She didn't recognize it, but it felt strangely familiar. She picked it up, wondering if it had been left by one of the cleaning staff. But when she asked around, no one knew anything about it. The symbol didn't appear anywhere else in the house, and no one had visited that could have left it. It was as though it had simply materialized. That night, Gena had trouble sleeping. As she tossed and turned, she thought she heard faint sounds coming from the basement. Footsteps, someone pacing, as if Chuck were still moving around the house. The sounds were unmistakable, but when she went to check, the basement door was locked. No one was there. Over the next few days, the occurrences grew stranger. Gena discovered cryptic messages hidden around the house. The most disturbing one appeared on the bathroom mirror after she took a shower. Using the condensation, the message simply read, "I'm not gone." Each day, she found more of these odd notes, some scribbled in strange handwriting, others carved into the edges of old furniture. The messages always seemed to come from nowhere, always the same cryptic message, "I'm not gone." It wasn't long before Gena's suspicions grew into something more than just fear. She began to find old photos of Chuck that seemed wrong. The pictures were ones she thought she had thrown out years ago, images of Chuck in his prime, captured during stunts or on set. But when she looked closer, she noticed something horrifying. In the background of several photos, she could see an eerie figure, blurred but unmistakably present. A figure that was standing in the shadows, but somehow seemed to be watching him. One photograph taken during a training session in the late 1980s showed Chuck mid-kick, his leg extended in perfect form. But just behind him, there was a faint, ghostly image of a man, tall, dark-haired, and wearing a jacket. The figure was partially transparent, but the outline was unmistakable. Gena couldn't explain it. She had never seen this person before, and no one else in the photos knew who the man could be. But the most chilling thing came when she started noticing the same figure in more recent photos, images from Chuck's final years. How could this figure have been there all along, in the background of all these pictures, without anyone noticing? Finally, overwhelmed by the strange events, Gena decided to speak out. When she sat down for an interview with a reporter, the first time she had spoken publicly since Chuck's death, she needed to make sense of the madness that had been unfolding in her life. With the reporter's microphone in front of her, she spoke carefully, her voice trembling with a mix of confusion and fear. "The truth is, I don't know what's happening, but after Chuck passed away, it felt like he never left. I know it sounds crazy, I didn't want to believe it either, but the phone calls, the symbols, the messages, they've been coming nonstop." Tears welled up in her eyes as she continued. "I even started to wonder if Chuck was still trying to reach me, if he was stuck somehow. Maybe it's his legacy or something more. I don't know, but I've found so many things I can't explain. The photos, the strange symbols. It's like Chuck never really left. And I feel like I'm being pulled into something much larger than I ever imagined. Something supernatural." The reporter, trying to remain calm, asked, "Do you think Chuck could have somehow left behind a message for you, a clue?" "I don't know," Gena replied, shaking her head. "Maybe he was trying to tell me something before he died, something I didn't understand. Maybe he knew he was leaving behind more than just a legacy of martial arts. I think he was trying to warn me about something, about what happens when you push yourself too far, when you give everything to something bigger than yourself." After Gena's interview, the media frenzy died down, but the strange occurrences continued. No one could explain the phenomena surrounding Chuck's death or the messages that continued to appear. But Gena's words echoed in the minds of those who had followed Chuck's career for decades. Maybe he knew something we didn't. Maybe he was trying to tell us something. To this day, the mystery of Chuck Norris's final months remains unsolved. Was he truly gone, or was there something else, something darker, that lingered after his death? And as for Gena, she still receives strange phone calls to this day. The number, long since disconnected, continues to ring, and sometimes just before she picks up, she hears a faint whisper in her ear, "I'm not gone." As we close this chapter of Chuck Norris's life and legacy, we're left with more questions than answers. Was he truly the invincible legend we admired, or was there a deeper mystery beneath the surface? If you've been moved by this story, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible stories from the lives of the icons we thought we knew. Chuck's legacy lives on, but his secrets, well, they might never be fully uncovered. Rest in peace, Chuck, and thank you for the strength, the legend, and the unforgettable memories. Stay tuned.